What's good, y'all? It's your boy Chief the OG back again with another Rich Before 30 podcast. Today we're starting Chapter 3, Stories, in the book Rich Before 30 by Gavin Chief Meredith. Last episode we discussed enjoying life, taking advantage of the day, and setting goals. Have you been living carpe diem? Have you been seizing the moment and seizing the day? Remember, setting goals is the only way to accomplish them. You can't accomplish anything without first setting a goal. Today we focus on perspective, your perspective of your life. Never complaining about any given situation, and letting go. More often than not, letting go is better for you. We will now begin Chapter 3, Stories, in the book Rich Before 30 by Gavin Chief Meredith. If you're reading along, we're beginning on page 95.
Chapter 3, Stories. Being truthful with yourself. Real talk. Are you willing to take advantage? What are you not willing to risk? What you're not willing to risk can help you take a real look at yourself and your current situation. You must see that everything you have decided to do has led you here to where you are now, which is obviously all right. You're in a well enough position to have free time to listen to this book to better your future. Expectations versus reality. Create a list. Realize the difference. Appreciate what you have. You are your own worst critic. Be nicer to yourself. Don't be such a harsh critic on yourself. Your story. What is your story? Is your story accurate? Are you the victim, or do you always win? Well, you may be surprised to find that you've been winning all along. Let me explain. Stories. Stories are a summary of our lifetime lived from our perspective. Your story is what makes you who you are today. But what if I told you that the story that you've been telling yourself isn't the truth? Whether you wake up drinking beer, whether you wake up and decide to exercise, all depends on what story you're telling yourself. Are you the victim in this story? Who have you decided to blame for the way your life turned out? Believe it or not, we've all been conditioned since the day we were born. Our parents teach us wrong from right and how the world works. But unintentionally, the people who raised you may also teach you to have the same fears they have, such as being afraid to do that thing you've been wanting to do so long, or take that trip that you've been wanting to take because of fear. Unintentionally, your parents may have set you up for a life of hell, when all they really wanted to do was keep you safe. But now you're an adult. You know better. Even if this was your situation and you feel that you were raised poorly, there is no excuse for you not to get off your ass and turn your life around starting today. Once you realize how you feel and what has been holding you back, it's really dumb to sit there and complain about it. If you haven't already noticed, I really have a strong dislike for complaining. Complaining has no place in the world. Let me give you an example. I made an 8 a.m. appointment at the mechanic 5 minutes from my home. I arrived at the mechanic at 8 a.m. to end up having to wait in line behind 5 people. No, 5 people isn't bad, but 5 cars that needed to be worked on before mine would be, at least for my time. Especially because I made an 8 a.m. appointment. As I waited in line, I quickly proceeded to ask if I could be helped because I made an 8 a.m. appointment, or was this mechanic shop just going to help people first come, first served? I was told that this mechanic shop would work on people's cars first come, first served. Of course, I was disappointed. After all, I did make an 8 a.m. appointment. Still, given this disappointing situation, there would be absolutely no use complaining. My car would not be seen any faster whether I decided to complain or not. What I decided to do was leave immediately and find another mechanic. As far as I knew, no mechanic would be able to see me that day. But I knew that I was not going to complain about what was clearly bad business on the mechanic's part. I had faith that even if I didn't find another mechanic that day, that I would find one that was more reliable. Not only did I find a mechanic that was more reliable, but I found a mechanic that was able to take my car and work on it immediately. Sometimes the universe will take you out of a bad situation and put you in a better one. Imagine if I had sat there waiting, 5 cars ahead of me, complaining. Oh, I sure would have wasted a lot of time and energy complaining. Instead, I ended up with a better situation that was much more timely. Sometimes we sit in the middle of a storm that we've created, and then have the audacity to complain about our situation. The reality is, if you see a relationship or any situation going downhill and you don't want to go downhill with it, you have to let go. Just like you're holding on to a rope, you hold on to negativity and wanting to be right. But always, letting go is best for you.
Changing your life perspective begins with being real with yourself. Be truthful with yourself and figure out how you ended up where you are. Why do you think about your life the way you do? Think about the things that you're willing to risk for the success that you desire, and think about what you're not willing to risk for the success that you desire. Are any of these things holding you back? This story that we tell ourselves about who we are, who we've grown up to be, and the life that we've had is really all about our perspective. Someone else may see our life from the outside in and have a different perspective. Where you may think you grew up poor, your friend might have grown up a lot poorer than you and appreciate the life that you have, or even envy the life that you have. To see our stories clearly, you should make a list of your expectations and your reality. Whatever your given situation is, list the expectations, and next to it, list the reality of that situation. If you find there is a large gap in where you stand with your expectations versus reality, find out why. Why is there such a large gap? Are you expecting too much out of a situation? Or is the reality that if you don't change your expectations, the reality will never change? Most people use the excuse of being raised poorly. They blame their parents. They blame society. They blame anybody except for themselves for the way that they behave on a daily. One thing I've never liked since I was a child is complaining. Complaining has no place in the world. When only you have the power to change your situation, what use is there complaining? No, seriously, why are you complaining about where you are and how your life is when you're the only person who can change it? Stop complaining about it and do something to change it. I give the example in the book of me going to the mechanic. I made an 8 a.m. appointment, and this mechanic had 5 people ahead of me when I got to the mechanics. Now, these people were probably ahead of the game and knew that this specific mechanic was first come, first serve. Me, I made an appointment online, and I was expecting to be first because I was the first appointment. But when I arrived and saw there were 5 people ahead of me, I quickly asked, hey, so is my car going to get worked on? I have an 8 a.m. appointment. And they said, oh, it's really first come, first serve. So from my perspective, they were saying, fuck you. To me, that's what it was. They didn't care about my feelings or my appointment at all. That's how their business works. What's the point of even having the ability to make an appointment if you're not going to take appointments? That's a big F on their business side. That's a big failure on their business side, and I'm sure they've lost plenty of business due to that. If they haven't, there's only idiots that still go there, or people who go there for convenience because they're used to how that business works. I realized there was no use in complaining. I left in search of a new mechanic. I ended up finding a perfect mechanic. That mechanic now has my car working back to brand new status. No issues at all. This other mechanic, the old one that I was trying to go to, who was poor at business and obviously scheduling, if I had stayed there complaining and let them work on my car, they most likely wouldn't have solved the issue. And I would have wasted a lot of time and been pissed off. Although it did take energy to drive to the other mechanics and find another mechanic, my energy was better spent in that aspect than it would have been spent complaining. Don't complain about your situation. If you don't like it, get the hell out of your situation and find a new way. Just how I had to find a new mechanic. Find a way to get done what you want to get done. Sometimes we'll get stuck in fighting for what's rightfully ours, such as that 8 a.m. mechanic appointment. It wasn't mine. I made it online, but that's not how their business worked. Whoever got there first got that 8 a.m. mechanics appointment, and that's okay. Sometimes things in life happen unexpectedly. We can't complain about them. More often than not, letting go is what's best. If I held on to my anger and complaining, I probably would have cussed out everybody at the mechanic and my car wouldn't have gotten fixed. Or it would have taken a lot longer. Who wants to work on somebody's project or do anything for somebody who's complaining? Really? Would you want to do something for somebody who was complaining about you? I don't think so. So in this situation, the best thing to do is to let go, move on. Whether it's your relationship, a situation, a friendship, whatever it may be. If it's holding you back or causing you pain, anger, stress, or causing you to complain, let go and move on. I don't have a rope, but I'll use this iPhone cord, for example. If I take this iPhone cord and wrap it around my hand and I'm cutting off my circulation, and if I don't let go, my hand's going to fall off. But I don't want to let go of the cord. Let's say this iPhone cord represents something that I really want in life, something that I think I need. And if I don't let go, I'll lose my hand. By letting go, I get to keep my hand. And I could also still have what it is that I need without losing my hand. Sometimes you gotta let go so you can preserve yourself, preserve your sanity. What's more important than your happiness? Now, as hard as it was to let go, I feel a lot better. And guess what? I still got everything I need to succeed. If you haven't already, be sure to pick up a copy of my book, Rich Before 30 by Gavin, Chief Meredith, available on Amazon. I'm Chief the OG, and this is the Rich Before 30 podcast. See you next time.